So I'm starting this video underneath the front of our Silver 75 1.8, and you may notice there's no under engine protector tray, and that's because this car has never had one, and we've always sort of kind of kept a lookout in scrapyards, but it wouldn't be an easy thing to get off, and of course they'd be worn themselves, but we always kept to look at, but never really worried too much about getting one. But we've now got one. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. So I thought I'd cover us fitting the new under engine cover. So I just thought also, before we get on with fitting that new undercover, I'll just come underneath our red 75 or maroon 75 and show you the engine cover on this, as this one, it was on when we got the car. So that gives you a rough look at what we assume is the original. And having to take this off, I can understand how it could get left off on some cars, because you know, it does add time to a job, but it also made us realise just how important the engine undercover is, and how leaving it off our other 75 probably isn't a good thing long term, because you can see how it does completely protect the engine from anything flying up onto the underneath of the car. The good thing is, by doing this cover as well, we can see our car must have originally had one, as all the sort of fixing points or holes are in the front subframe as well. All we've had to do is buy the right clips to do it, and again we'll show you that as we go through the job. Right, so this is the under engine tray or cover or protector that we've bought. We found it online. Now, amazingly enough, compared to some of the things that you would imagine would be available online, you find they aren't, and even sometimes Rover Brothers don't have them in stock. This, amazingly, I think there was at least 3 sellers had I suppose what you'd call an aftermarket. It's not an original one in stock, and even Rimmer Brothers, when we looked, actually had a complete original one, which was quite expensive, and they even sold what it appeared to be an aftermarket one slightly cheaper. So at the time of making this video at the beginning of 2001, it is quite easy to find one for sale, and again not too expensive either. I think we paid just under the £40 mark, which I suppose is a little bit in some ways, but if you see how much the original one's being charged, it's well over double that, if not triple. The only problem with this aftermarket one, and I'll show you that once we get all the wrapping off, is that the insulation that's on the original one isn't there. So we get that out the wrapping and completely show you that. Right, so this is the engine under tray protector uncovered, and yeah, it looks nice. It feels as strong as the other one, slightly different plastic, but it feels as strong, and we can't really see many differences. All the moulding and these sort of arrow marks are the same. The only difference is here, this kind of scoop is a complete slot, whereas there they've drilled holes in, which in a way probably makes it stronger. But what you will notice is that there's not like a little heat shield here, and some padding. I think it's that side. We took a picture of ours to make sure. So what we've done is bought our own aftermarket insulation. This is actually for putting in engine bays, like on the bulkhead or under the bonnet, so we're hoping we can use that and put it in roughly the same places. And the reason we're going to do that is, one, it might stop any anti sort of booming on this, because it is a sort of big flexible plastic piece, and this has got a sticky back, and also the exhaust does run here, so we think it probably does need some sort of shielding. So that's what we're going to do. What we'll probably also do is just lay it underneath to check that it's going to roughly fit, which it looks pretty much the same. So the next thing is to get on and get that insulation cut. Right, so before we saw that insulation out, I just thought I'd talk about the fixing points. You can see as I work my way round, all those little slots around the outside are the fixing points. And what we've done is, as there's not all of them left under there from the original cover that was on the car, and they're quite rusty, we've bought a packet of the little almost mounting metal clips. I'll show you them in a minute, and the special little screw type bolts that go up. You can, again, amazingly find them very easy online in packets of 10. So we've bought I think 2 packets of those to make sure we've got enough. And if I take you underneath the car now, and yeah, coming underneath here, you'll see that there's this little point here, and also if I come in a little bit, there's also another point there, and there's a series of those, and you'll see this one, hopefully you can see if I come a little bit closer, still got the old original clip on, so we're going to remove those so we can put the new clips on, and then the new little bolts can go through them. And as we come round here, you'll see that's a better view. You can see another one there where the hole's in the sort of subframe there, and then the clip is sitting on top. So we're going to remove them so we can put the new ones on. And some of those clips also go on the front undertray. Once again, we'll show you that in a minute. Right, so what we're doing here, even before we put the insulation on, is we've just got it rested up, and we've pushed it up and just checked roughly the holes line up. I think it's one of those things, it's sort of where it's new and moulded plastic is not quite the right shape, but you can see just by holding it that those holes are going to line up, so we know we've got no major fitment problems, and that's going to let us just be sure we can carry on with the job. We think that probably is worthwhile doing just to check before you go too far. So as I was saying earlier, these are the new clips we've bought, as not all of them were there and they were quite rusty what was left on there. And you've got the clip part that slides over the metal on the chassis, or on the front here they actually slide over this cover here. And you've got the special little sort of screw bolt with there, a kind of a screw with that almost Phillips head on. And basically what they do, as you can see, they just threadle in and twist and lock up in, so they're quite a nice, quick and clever clip to use. So it was nice that we could get the original clips. That's what we're going to fit now, get these fitted on the chassis and on the front of this. And of course we've still got that insulation to do as well. So as you can see, those clips, as I was just explaining a minute ago, they sort of slide on, then you can use a hammer just to finish them off and get them fully fitted. And then what we're going to do now is slowly go round and put them all on the fixing points, which is just a case of going round and you'll see them. And I would have thought, like this car, even though the cover wasn't there, some of the old clips are there, so they're sort of easy to find those fixing points. Of course, you have the tray. If there's any you've missed out, all you need to do is just put them on to get them there once you're done. Right, so this is the engine insulation we've bought to go on the plastic covering, and more or less the original one was a strip down here and the insulation to the side. What we've decided is, as this is a nice wide strip, we'll just stick to this strip, as this should cover most of where the original insulation was on them. And you can see I've drawn a rough line there to show us the size, and it's sticky back, and when it's stuck down it'll have this foil here to reflect up and protect this cover as well from any heat from the engine. So all we're doing with the insulation is I've pulled a small amount of the sticky back paper off, got it in the position I want, stuck that down, and then we can pull it back, slowly pull this paper out while sticking it down, and then to make sure it's fully stuck down, we then got a roller to roll it down, and hopefully that should be a good hold for that insulation. Right, so that's it initially stuck on. All I'm going to do now is just gently go over it with a roller, just to make sure it's got a good adhesion to this Undertray, and hopefully, because it's face down, there's no weight on the glue, so it should have no reason why it won't stay there for a long time. Right, so we've now, as you can see, got all the metal clips around the subframe to put the Undertray protector on. You can more or less see them because they're all nice and shiny clips on our black painted subframe. And the rest of the clips go on the actual plastic Undertray itself. And there's 12 fixings in total, and we've now got this heat insulation bit fixed on nicely as well. So we're nearly at the point of putting the tray on and getting it ready to fix. So the other thing it's worth doing is putting these screw fixings in ahead while you're up here. Now, interestingly enough, with this cover, they've actually made these slots tight enough so that they stay in. On the original cover, that's a bigger hole, and what there is like a little plastic washer that holds this up, and that's so it doesn't fall out, and it's all there ready for you to fix it up into the car. What we're still going to do is put our plastic washers on. That'll just make sure they definitely don't fall out when you come to undo the tray in the future, and again they will go round in the relevant fixing points around the tray. Right, so all the fixings are now on the under tray, and all those fixings at the front are on as well. So we are now ready to put it underneath and start attaching it. Right, so we've got the under tray engine protector just laid underneath the car, and you can see how the heat shield lines up with the main part of the engine and the exhaust, and that is a heat-proof heat shield we've stuck on there. All the fixings are sticking through. Then all we've got to do is just hold it up and slowly fix them in, and hopefully I can show you a bit of us doing that. Right, so we've done our first test fit, and most of the holes more or less line up, but what we've found is that these little slots here, where they're so tight, although they hold the little bolts in, they don't give you enough flexibility. So you've got the flexibility that way, but not that way. And on the original cover, when we did it, it's more of a sort of a big round hole. So what we're doing is opening up the slots on the plastic cover, just to give us a little bit more flexibility. And we also think that two of these front holes are not going to line up. We may have to re-drill them, but apart from that, that looks like hopefully the only modification we'll have to make. Right, so we're doing our first full fit now, and just with a little bit of fettling of each of those slots, it's now fitting a lot easier. I think the problem is because this is a more flexible plastic than the original, it doesn't sit in shape until you've got it up there. Once you've got it up then fettled those slots, it is fitted. The only thing we think we are going to have to re-drill these front holes, because they just don't line up with the bumper holes, and that could be, we think possibly perhaps this was designed for the very last 75s, where perhaps the holes in the bumper were different, or it's just they're drilled wrong. But that's what you sometimes have to do with pattern parts, is fettle them a little bit to get them to fit. But it's the whole thing as a shape fits very, very well. So that's the main thing. The fettling we're having to do is more than achievable for a pattern part. Right, so as you can see, the cover's now up into position and permanently fitted, and just opening out those slots slightly worked, apart from one that we had to fettle a little bit more. And as we expected, these holes along the front where the plastic cover joins the bumper, we've had to re-drill them. They didn't line up at all, but again, more than achievable. And apart from that, the actual shape and all the sort of bulges all fits really well. What we are pleased with, it is really nice and solid. Now it's up there, it's not flexible at all. With that heat insulation pad, that's just stopped any sort of booming or flexibility as well. And this sort of hole here for that metal mounting, that lines up nicely, and the little bulge there's lining up, and also the air vent there all lines up as it should. And if I bring you all the way around under the wheel arch and bring the light with us as well, and shine up in there, hopefully you'll be able to see there that the full heat insulation doesn't touch the exhaust or any of the engine. There's quite a gap there, and nothing sort of gets caught up, so it really does fit very, very nicely, and all the clips work as well. Right, so I thought I'd just bring you a different view, looking now from the back of the car looking forward, just to give you another view of the engine underguard shield. And if I bring you up into the void between the engine and the undershield, you can see there's a nice gap between the exhaust and the gearbox and the rest of the engine. It just gives you a view you normally wouldn't be able to see. So we're now putting the last of those screw fixings in along the front, and that is the job done. Hopefully this has been of interest and of use to you. As always, don't forget to look at some of the other videos we do on the channel, and of course you can look at Instagram and Twitter for little progress updates.